Thank you, guys.
Thanks for coming out. Again, my name's Dennis Baker. I'm the business program director. We do these independent feature film screenings for a lot of reasons. One is to encourage independent filmmakers, to give them a platform to share their work, but also to encourage you guys to create your own projects by hearing from people who've been there, done it, and survived. So we'll have them start by introducing themselves and how you worked on the project.
Hello, I'm Wade Allain-Marcus, and I'm the co-writer, thank you, and co-director, and I played Vincent.
Peter K. Hagen, co-writer of the film.
My hand.
Jason Wolf, one of the producers.
Mel Jones, the other producer.
And as we all know, it takes an army, a tribe, a clan to make a film happen. So any cast or crew in the audience you want to acknowledge and give some props to.
Yes, we have Roma in the audience. Melina Lisette is all the way back there. And then we also have Ma, who played my mother and is my mother, Stephanie Allain.
And the executive producer.
And was also an executive producer on the film.
Typecasting. And there's one important person that's not here who's co-director you should mention.
My brother, my younger brother, Jess Allain-Marcus, he's at college currently, still right now. He co-directed the film with me.
Nice. So he'll get to watch the video. We're going to jump right in because you can't make a film without a story and then a script. So let's always start there. So how did the story come to be? Kind of was the thought process behind that?
We usually, Peter and I used to be roommates, and at the time that we were writing this, we were roommates. And one day Peter was taking a shower, and I walked in the bathroom, and Peter goes, "Wait, I have an idea for a movie." And I was like, "What, man, what?" I'm brushing my teeth. And he's like, "It's about a guy who sleeps with his best friend's girlfriend, and he walks around all day thinking about it. And I think he screams." And I was like, I kind of like that.
And a little bit more backstory. We had I guess probably that night or before, we'd watched two movies back to back. The first was Miller's Crossing, the Coen brothers movie, and the second was Irreversible, the French film, the Gaspar Noé film. And in Miller's Crossing, a small subplot of the film is the main character is sleeping with his boss's girlfriend, and he's kind of afraid that he's going to find out. And in Irreversible is told completely backwards. So I thought, it'd be that small subplot would be an interesting movie. Follow this guy as he's, he wants to tell his best friend that he slept with his girlfriend, and meanwhile the structure of it is told backwards. And I think we came up with the idea of, we opened the movie with the sex scene. Yeah. That's like this beautiful, passionate scene. These people that belong together should be together, and at the end of it, they're kind of looking sad and upset, and why that is. And then kind of track back from there as we follow him on his day, and it goes backwards in time, flashing back, and you learn a little bit more about the characters, who they are, how they relate to each other.
Great. Talk a little bit about then how did you start getting it on paper? How did you start fleshing it out? What was kind of that process?
So initially, we wanted to just shoot it off like a treatment, like a detailed treatment, and each chapter was gonna be shot in one shot, and we were gonna improvise that shot as well as the scenes, and then we tested that and realized that doesn't really work so well. So slowly we started to flush out the treatment further and further, and that's when we kind of started bringing in Jason and Mel and bouncing some ideas off, and we kind of were flushing it out as we were going. Everything was moving really fast, so I think we probably banged out a script not too long before we started shooting, and then we're kind of writing as we were shooting on the way.
How many days from bathroom till first day of production? How many days in between?
Yeah, I think that bathroom day was like on a balmy September evening, and we went into production early January. Yeah, a couple months later.
So you like to stress out your producers is basically what you're trying to say. How do you guys? And then I think that's a great tie-in. How do you guys all like know each other? How'd you come aboard? Mel, how'd you guys come aboard as producers? Talk a little bit about kind of relationships.
I've actually known Wade since we were 12 years old, and we always wanted to find something to work on together. And yeah, when he came to me with the idea, it was super relatable and kind of a narrative that was really cool and something that I just really wanted to be a part of and figure out how to make. And it really did take a village, as you said, and a lot of people in that village were people that we've known for a really long time, which made it even cooler.
Yeah. And I came to the project because I'm part of the homegrown family. So I work for Wade's mom. And she's like, Wade's doing this crazy thing. He doesn't even have a script. Like, can you please get in there and like help out? And I was like, all right, bet. And then he said what it was. I was like, oh my gosh, this is super cool. And they did do a test, and the test didn't completely work out, but you could tell that it was going to be amazing. And so we all just kind of came together, family and friends, and made it happen.
Oh, shout out to Mom again. Talk a little about the writing process, because co-writers, it can get a little difficult of like who does what. Do you guys write together, write separately? So as you guys were going through this pre-production writing process, how did you guys divvy up that work? Because there's a lot of people probably with a lot of different things going on.
Well, we had written a script before, actually, and no one wanted to make it or got it, and it was kind of a little bit bigger than this. And I think this film was like in response to that, because it was sort of like, I think we need to go and do something that feels a little more manageable. But that process was, we discovered this thing with computers where you can share each other's screens, which was pretty cool. And and so we would kind of, we would have a regimen. We also, when we met working at a pizza place, Pitfire Pizza. It's delicious.
Big fans.
So there was a period where we were like working together at Pitfire, and then we would come home and we would be writing, and then we would wake up and be writing, and then go to Pitfire. But essentially that process was, we would kind of throw it back and forth. I mean, I think we kind of go back and forth sometimes with who has broad strokes and who is more like dialogue and scenarios, and it's really a lot of it is like the small kind of seed kernel ideas like that, like a guy sleeps with his best friend's girlfriend, or two dudes brushing their teeth together, and it will sort of grow from there.
And if I did my research properly, this is your first feature that you worked on. So it's a lot of shorts before. So talk a little about the transition, because we do screen shorts and stuff, and that transition from working on a short to feature can get a little crazy sometimes. So what was that like for you to kind of take that big jump?
Actually, I felt like that transition it was a really similar process as far as what to do, especially when you don't have any money to work with. Then the biggest thing that you want to do is find somebody like Jason Wolf, who has spent time just kind of out there in the field with no money and can kind of create that cocoon and can create that really like safe cocoon for you to be able to work. But as far as the transition from short to feature, I think it was pretty much all the same principles.
Great. Let's talk, since we mentioned money. Jason, the miracle worker with no money. What was that process? What needed to be raised? Talk about like what you were able to get for free or less than you were. Just kind of talk a little bit about that in relation to this film.
Well, Mel kind of mentioned it. Wade believed in this. Peter and Wade believed in it, and they shot a little proof of concept or
like testing, testing.
Yeah, testing, which really, yeah. And which really showed everybody what it could be. We were able to raise a little bit of money, and we really just borrowed and begged. And
we can say how much it is now, right? No? Oh, okay.
Producers say no.
It wasn't nearly enough for what we wanted to do, and we made it work by being creative. We shot it in 14 days.
People work for points.
We got permits for the whole city and figured out how to just kind of guerrilla it.
Still photography.
Oh,
permits.
yeah, still photography.
Yeah.
We didn't really get permits.
Okay.
Yeah, there's creative ways to go about it. So
He's a genius, by the way.
So yeah, everybody who believed in it, everybody who worked on it truly believed in it, which was we had a small crew, but like a really really hardy crew, I would say.
Scrappy crew.
Scrappy. And yeah, it was calling, it was begging, it was being creative how we shot it, but ultimately the goal was to be able to give Wade and Jesse, who's his brother, the ability to just, once they got on set and had those 10 hours or those 12 hours, to hopefully not think about if we really had a permit or not.
Talk a little bit about shout-outs to some of your department heads, the relationships there, DPs and stuff. Who was the other people that worked with, and how they got all connected?
I mean, it was really all friends and family, and I think it wouldn't have happened any other way because it just felt so comfortable and everyone felt so connected. Actually, we had prepped the film with another DP that we didn't know so well and who's probably more experienced than any of us, who had shot a few features. And like a week out, my brother, we all kind of had a meeting and we were like, I don't think we're going to shoot the movie we want to shoot. And we ended up letting him go a week before we were going to shoot. And a friend of mine who I've known for like the last 10 years, who's more of like a National Geographic kind of photographer, and he spends time like chasing Ebola and doing things like that, happened to be in town like editing one of his documentaries. And we felt like his sort of tenacity to just jump into whatever was going to happen was going to actually complement what we were trying to go for. So he ended up DPing the film. And then a couple people from the short that my brother and I did, who were like production designing and art directing and costumes. And really it was just like we were all just bringing our own kind of stuff. Department heads, I mean... Yeah, we don't know that.
Yeah. Friends and family love it. Let's talk a little bit about casting with the actors in the room and everything. Did you guys write with people in mind? Because as an actor, I'm sure you have tons of other actor friends. Was that something, or were you just like, we're just going to write and then take care of the casting after it's done?
We pretty much had all these people in mind. Arjun is a friend of Wade's, and I've met Arjun through Wade, and who else? Santana.
Yeah, the one who played my sister. And, well, originally, actually, I was going to play the best friend role. And we had someone else who was going to play Vincent, and that was actually what we tested. And it didn't work as well as we thought. And then there's Melina, who is my girlfriend currently. We live together. But we decided to work together on this, and that was awesome. So it was really, everyone was kind of a part of it in the family. Arjun, I went to NYU with as well, and I've also known for a decade. Elsa, she plays Josephine, Elsa Biederman. I had kind of met her randomly on a whim. She kind of recently come to Los Angeles, met through a friend of a friend, and was like giving her advice about where to go to a casting call, and we remembered her, and it was kind of like that.
You mentioned it on production days, but talk about, do you guys have rehearsals and anything like that? Kind of talk about the little bit of the prep into artistically, kind of into it. Co-directors, what was that relationship like? Talk a little bit about that as well.
That was awesome. I mean, as far as rehearsal went, I think it's important to point out that I would say 95% of what's in this film is actually in the script. There's very little improv in this movie, and a lot of that came from having a few rehearsals and kind of talking with the other actors and what felt right. And then beyond that, what was the other thing that you just
just the idea of co-directing too,
Co-directing,
so sharing responsibility.
Yeah, my brother has actually been directing longer than I have, even though he's 20 years old, about to be 21. He's always been doing it. It's in the family for us. And so for me, I think that I was actually less experienced at it, and I felt like at being in it that there was no better way than to have someone who, even though we're 10 years apart, have this kind of shorthand. And we were able to prep it together and figure out like shots and performance stuff. But then when we actually worked, I would sort of kind of be more of an AD and like direct the action and kind of talk to the actors. And Jesse would be running the technical aspect of it, and sort of when action happened, he ran the set.
I always like to hear stories because we've seen the final product, everyone's seen the final product, but there's so much story that goes behind the final product. So a little bit of like what happened to make certain scenes happen. Did your vision have to change because of certain like time frames, or did like you had to get a neighbor, pay him off to
The bar scene. How many takes did that take?
Yeah, well, even though our idea was to shoot every scene in one shot, and that didn't happen, there ended up being a lot of long takes in the film. And one of them, early on in the film, the dance scene, when they're in the bar, that was, I think, 24 takes. And then it was a lot of choreography. We kind of wrote the film a little around a movie that our friend who gave us the equipment, we just knew we had that, and so we were kind of writing some things around that stuff. And then also, I think it's important to talk about pickups a little bit.
Yeah, we did them.
Congratulations.
We did pickups. Yeah, there was these moments where it kind of felt like the sky was falling when you're making your first feature, whether it be, changing DPs a week before you're supposed to shoot, or getting into edit and being like, we don't have everything. But I think the real testament in each of those made the film better, without a doubt. I don't think that if we would have gone through the process of figuring out the right DP or figuring out doing the pickups, it would have been as good as it was. And yeah, I think almost 8 months into the process, we shot one of my favorite scenes, in addition to others, but the barbecue scene, as well as, what else was a pickup? The taco scene.
Yeah.
And it really, the story was there, but it really filled it out to another level that I don't think anyone could have imagined. And, going through that process is what made it so good.
And one of the last things I think that's really important is all the archival footage. That stuff kind of came in later. We knew we wanted to be inside Vincent's head and him to be thinking over the last year of what happened, but we had sort of like watched Jules and Jim, and we're thinking about what it would be like with these as kids. This was a suggestion from my mother, that just to be able to see them as children, kind of root. In an early cut of the film, it was hard to root for Vincent as being, a cheater and somewhat of an asshole. And so to kind of give that backstory was really important. And so I guess the overall thing is to just kind of be relentless about not stopping until you feel like your story has been told. Because we would get to places and feel like it was the end and kind of wish it was the end, like want that to be done, but know somewhere deep down that it wasn't, and how crucial it is to kind of keep going back to the table and eating again and again until you're full.
Nice. Jason and Mel, can you talk a little bit about locations? How did you find them? Where did you find them?
The whole spectrum.
Yeah, Stephanie's house. Wade's mom's house was a
It's a running
location.
theme, Wade's mom.
The car wash was
LA was
my
a
apartment.
big thing. Wade's apartment. The shower where it was conceived was the shower that you saw. That's right. So,
Kismet.
Melina's
my house. Yeah.
Your house, Melina's house.
Yeah. Whatever it took is the bottom line. And the bar is St. Nick's on 3rd Street nearby.
gone, right?
That is gone, which has nothing to do with us whatsoever. And yeah, that might be all of them.
I think it's just always important when you're doing something like this to keep it tight, like to shoot in locations that you know really well, because then there's just less mystery when you get there. And that's like one of the biggest things I think we learned, is to kind of try and take the mystery out of it as much as you can, because stuff's gonna change and there's gonna be mysteries, and hopefully you save that for the final product when people are watching.
Let's talk a little bit about post now. Did you feel you prepared well in production for post, or now, laughing, you probably answered it. How do you think, if you now have done it, would you recommend people better prepare for post in their pre and production schedules?
Yeah, the answer's not great. Yeah, we we would, bring the right editor on from the beginning is a brass tacks, just like real clear thing that we would have done differently.
We change editors midway.
No, yeah. It costs 10 times more than you think it's going to cost. So yeah, those are two pretty clear brass tacks things that, and that's where a lot of movies lose steam, is they, in post, and they, you shoot something great and it gets really expensive really quickly, prohibitively, luckily we, investors were willing to give us more, and that was the necessary to get the final push, but there's many films that aren't able to do that, so.
Yeah, and just to give you guys an idea of time frame, I think we were like in post for like a year. Like literally, I had my daughter 3 days after we wrapped, and then she's 2 right now. So that just gives you an idea how long post took. It was just, it was expensive. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of money. It just was.
Let's just plan as much as you can. I mean, I know it's hard and it's weird because at the same time, you have to just kind of capture the creative spirit when it's happening, when people are galvanized, like that's the moment to go. So sometimes you don't have as much time to do that, but it's just important that as much as you can, you have someone thinking about that stuff all the way through. Especially we taught someone on set how to organize
DIT.
our footage.
Yes, we did. We taught someone on set how to do that.
She was
She was
perfect.
awesome.
She was great, Michelle. But just try to balance those two things, that you don't want to stop the train, but it's just so important because later on you'll need it.
Yeah. As you're wrapping up in post, talk a little bit about your decisions of where to go with it, festivals, distribution, that kind of thing. Like what were money and that it's involved in all that as well, which is a whole, a lot of people don't think about that. Talk about how you guys talk through it, of what festivals to send it to, goals, plans, stuff like that.
I mean, I feel like right after an assembly, I sent it to Cannes, and that was a mistake because that wasn't ready. It didn't work.
It didn't get in.
No, it didn't get in. It didn't get into most of the super big festivals, which that was kind of all we applied, and I wouldn't suggest that to others out there. But, so we were kind of like editing it. There was like a 3-month period where it was stalled because we were changing it from Final Cut Pro to Avid. And I think I would say that you just want to think about that as little as you can until you have it ready, because you just never know how long it's going to take and where the festival circuit is at that time, and just kind of feel like whatever festival is right for you will find it, will grab it up. We were fortunate enough to premiere at the Los Angeles Film Festival, which was great for us because we were on home court, and I think that gave us a big push later on.
Yeah, and I think too, we were at one point we thought we were done, and we were trying to get ready for Sundance, and I think that's a mistake that a lot of filmmakers make, like just trying to rush to get it ready for Sundance, and then it's not good, and then you're tired and you think you're done, but you're not really done. So I think not paying attention to where you fall in the calendar of festivals, like it always comes back around, and it might be that your film is ready the next year, which sounds sad, but it's better to have it ready the right way than not. And then, with the LA Film Festival, it was a perfect place for us to premiere. Like we were able to galvanize all of our friends. Everyone could come. It's an LA story. And then, ultimately Netflix was there and saw it. And, we got a deal through our playing at the LA Film Festival. So
It premieres on Netflix tomorrow, actually. Tomorrow it'll be up there.
Give it 5 stars.
Yeah, 5 stars.
And you're not the only films that say, a lot of films that like shooting Texas or something say, like when you shoot in a certain location, film festivals in that location, it kind of has another relationship and resonance to it. So you guys
Totally, yeah.
So
I believe that. Yeah.
It's great. It's good. It's good that you guys were able to do that. Go ahead. Yeah.
And there are so many festivals. And to try and to go through a 1.5-year process and try to finish it for the sake of a given festival is what we fell into that trap, and is not the approach, versus making the film that you've been trudging along at, and then there are a litany of festivals, and big and small, and you will find your audience, but you can't cut the film for the audience.
Talk as much as you can. You probably can't talk a lot about it because it's, I don't know, maybe you can. Talk a little bit what was like having Netflix give you a call and kind of that whole process.
Awesome.
Awesome,
It was
of
really
course.
awesome.
But yeah, talk a little bit about that.
I mean, well, you know, we're at the LA Film Festival, and we want people to come see it, and like we want people to buy. You want somebody to buy it for $1 million, and like you're like sitting there like, who's in this audience? I remember we were like trying to get everybody in the audience and trying to get people to review it and trying to get people's eyeballs on it. And then what was like the next day we got an email like from one of the executives there like, we loved your film. And I mean, it just. We all knew it was great, and like LA, the LA Film Festival thought it was great, but I think like just that extra validation from, a place that shows some of the best independent cinema out there, felt really good. I don't know, like.
They said it was great, and then they disappeared for like 5 months, and we were like, "Did we sell it? I don't know if this worked."
And we did. We did.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Thank you for sharing your story. We always like to end on kind of the golden nugget question. So, actor, director, writers, producers, if you could sum up this experience and share kind of one golden nugget with someone who's maybe starting their first feature film or writing their first feature film or looking to produce, what would be one thing that if they only remembered one thing out of this evening you'd want them to kind of take away with?
When you are in your darkest hour and you feel like there is no light at the end of the tunnel, there is.
Is it?
There is. No, there definitely is. And just go to sleep in that dark tunnel for a second, and then you'll wake up and be able to walk again.
Nice. Stumped him.
Take a lot of pictures. Just enjoy it. It's a lot of long hours, but it's a lot of fun and a lot. You get adrenaline when it's your work, your project that you're working on, and you'll get a little sleep, but it'll all be really worth it.
I would say, honestly, making a film in LA. If you have an idea, just do it. I mean.
That was what I was gonna say.
Because we were sitting here 2.5 years ago just talking, and we stopped talking and started doing, and it sounds so cliche, but it just happened. And LA is a tough place to make movies, but a great place to make movies because you can call in those favors, you can ask for those things, you can blend into the background and no one gives a shit that you're filming. And that's things that you can't do in other places. So, yeah, just do it.
Yeah, I was going to say just do it too. And I'm still going to say it because I think it's just really important that, you can't, I can't call myself a producer, I guess, unless I'm producing. And so even if it's something small, even if you're making like some short web commercial thing that nobody's going to see on YouTube, you don't think, just do it because eventually you'll, create your team, you'll create your tribe, you'll create all the folks who are going to be able to be with you to make that other thing and the next thing and the next thing, because this really couldn't have been done had they, like this wasn't Wade's first film, and it wasn't any of our first projects. So I think just keep doing it and 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 don't stop.
I actually just want to add one more thing. I think one of the most important things is to actually not talk about it outside of your circle. Like one of the most important things, like in a time where there's so much like this is what I'm doing and this is how I'm feeling and this is what's going on, and Kickstarter and crowdfunding, and even though that stuff is so important, like I can't emphasize the importance of having a safe space, like a private, quiet, secret space with all the people you love to have that opportunity to fuck up if it happens and to get back up and keep going. And the less people know about it as that's happening, the more empowered you'll feel. And so to be able to create that cocoon for yourself, I think you will be able to grow the most.
Clap that up, yeah. You like that. And it also sounds like you need to call Wade's mom to get stuff done too.
Yes, definitely. I would say, my mom, Stephanie Allain, is a legendary producer. If y'all don't know, look her up. And I think that is so important to say that, you know, we didn't have any money, but we had her. And I think finding someone who you trust story-wise and having that person to bounce off of outside of the little crew, you know, because she wasn't on set with us, but afterwards and just talking stuff out. I mean, that's the stuff you can't pay for. And we were really fortunate to have that with her.
That's awesome. Thank you all for sharing your story. Thank you for teaching us and letting us just kind of get a glimpse of your hard work. Thank you. Everyone, check it out. Everyone, thanks for coming. We appreciate it. They'll be around to say hi. Do fill out the surveys, and have a great evening.
Watch it
Go
on
on
Netflix,
Netflix. Go to Netflix.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Thank you for coming, everyone. Thank you so much.
Go on Netflix.